Hey everyone, my name is Jan Kreidenberg, and this is Ezoic Academy. Today I'm going to walk you through the technology category within big data analytics. I think this is really helpful for publishers that are really looking to get even more granular with some of the performance depending on device, browser, different formats for the website, etc. So from the top, the first one is device. This is probably the most straightforward. It's going to break it down all of our data based on desktop, mobile, and tablet. Um, One thing that I encourage people to do when doing this is you can actually look at the performance of Ezoic versus your original site. To do this, you can go to all platforms, and then you can select Ezoic platform as well as old site. So with when you're comparing Ezoic to old site, what this is going to do is tell you, depending on what your traffic split is with Ezoic, so if you're sending 50% to Ezoic and 50% to the old site, you can pull up these two segments, and our system is automatically tracking both the old site and the Ezoic version. So you can see this specific site is on 100% Ezoic, so there's only a handful of visits going to the old version. But it's a good way to look at how your UX metrics are performing on the Ezoic version versus how they were performing before working with Ezoic. So the next section is browser and OS. So what this is going to allow you to do is actually see, well, what are my users browsing on, and then also how are they monetizing. So if you want to know, well, how is Chrome doing versus Safari? How is Firefox doing? Or even how are users on a Android device versus on an iPhone or on our iOS operating system. You can see all of these numbers here. Again, this is super helpful in looking at and potentially debugging things. So if you're seeing a revenue drop, it's possible maybe it's just one browser that's being impacted, or maybe one set of users, like maybe only iPhone users are seeing lower revenue versus Android. Next report we're going to look at is the framework. So this is one of my favorite reports personally. What it allows you to do, with so many different frameworks, there is a lot of data to look at, and things that are not readily available through Google Analytics. So, for example, if you have a mobile AMP version, you can actually see how your AMP version of your site is monetizing compared to the mobile web version. If you have progressive web apps, PWA, you can also look at that. So it's no longer just looking at how is mobile doing overall. It's looking at, okay, how is regular mobile web doing, and how is your mobile AMP doing? How is desktop doing? And so again, you can see these reports. This is super unique. Our team has spent a lot of time building out this AMP reporting that is not readily available, like I said, through Google Analytics. All right, so this next connection type, we're actually, the next level is, okay, well, how are people connecting to my website? Is it through a cellular device? Is it through cable, even dial-up for those of you that remember the dial-up days? But so you can actually see how are most of my users browsing. Are they going to be at work, for example, or are they out and about on their phone browsing around looking at the website? All of these are data points and things that our machine learning is looking into. So our machine learning actually is making decisions based on, well, is the user browsing on their phone? Is it on 3G? Is it on 4G? Is it on Wi-Fi? And actually implementing that into the machine learning and the delivery of ads. Another report within technology, the service providers. So you can actually look into big data analytics and determine, well, how are users behaving based on, is it AT&T, is it Verizon, is it Sprint, any different cable provider, internet provider, and cell phone provider. You can actually see how they're monetizing. This report, bots, it basically, our system is able to track which visits on your site are from bots versus real users. So this report will actually segment out how many visits were done by not real users, just bots on the site. So, and then this report actually goes back to what I was talking about earlier with connection type, but this is the effective type within the connection. So I talked about 4G and 3G and 2G. So this report is actually going to show you, and it's specifically for mobile devices, how many of your users are on 4G versus 3G and 2G. One thing where I would find this useful is when you're looking at site speed. I know that PageSpeed Insights is automatically slowing your site down to the slowest level to simulate the slowest type of user on the site. But in this case, if you have most of your visitors that are on a 4G device, you know that any simulated slowdown is probably not going to be impacting users on your site, because in this example, like I said, most of the users are using 4G or unknown, which would be those would be the desktop users that are not using 3G or 4G. So that wraps up the technology section of Ezoic Academy. We appreciate you joining us for this. Thanks a lot.